What if Loki was at Marineford? Short answer, the Marines are cooked. No one at Marineford can stop Loki, not even Garp or Mihawk, and definitely not Akainu. As for the long answer, well, just hear me out.
Okay.
First, we need to figure out how Loki would even show up. He was chained to the Adam tree at Elbaf, so it should not be possible for him to just show up at Marineford, right? Well, we'll get around this by assuming that Shanks never captures Loki, which means Loki is still sinking ships, just like he did for 8 years before. Shanks did whatever he did. This also means Loki's bounty at this point would be higher than 2.6 billion. Let's say it's 4 billion. That puts him around the same bounty as Shanks. Basically, Loki would have the highest bounty of anyone who is not an emperor. Alright, with that established, let's talk about the actual scenario. When will Loki appear at Marineford? And more importantly, why? Speaking of the why first, since Loki is on the seas, he'll see the news about the upcoming war, and as someone who believes his purpose is to bring the world to its end, why wouldn't he want in on what is essentially the war of the best? You bet, he is all in. Plus, this will be the perfect opportunity to clean up the Marines. Now, as for when exactly he'd show up at Marineford, imagine this. Exactly as Luffy and the gang are falling from the sky, there's a lightning strike, and suddenly, the entire sky turns black. In the canon, everyone was shocked at Luffy and the other prisoners falling from the sky. But here, their attention shifts to the absolutely huge Nidhogg dragon, whose size is big enough to blot out the sun. And you know what? Loki could literally just take a piss in that form and everyone's devil fruit powers would get negated. So, what do you think? Who at Marineford can do anything to Loki? Garp and Mihawk are the strongest on the side of the Marines. But Mihawk is just going to leave because, he agreed to fight Whitebeard, not top 1 Loki. And as for Garp, we know he's only about half as strong as he was in his prime. Meanwhile, Loki defeated the Herald, who was a tier stronger than the Herald, who was equal in strength to Rox. And you already know how strong Rox was. This guy started his pirate career after killing a Marine admiral. So there's no way Garp, who is relative to Aokiji, can do anything to Loki. And speaking of the admirals themselves, well, let's see. As Loki is still in his dragon form, Akainu jumps and blasts him with a meteor volcano at maximum output. Since Loki is in the air, Akainu doesn't have to worry about collateral damage. Plus, because of Loki's size, he can target him all over. But imagine the look on Akainu's face as Ragnir quite literally freezes all of the meteors. The frozen meteors begin falling down on Marineford, and while Aokiji does his best to stop them with his ice, there are too many, and they are all coming down from random directions. A quarter of Marineford is immediately destroyed. Then, as Akainu lands back on the ground, Loki shifts back into his base state while still in the air and jumps into the middle of Marineford. He is around the same size as Little Ors Jr., but you don't need me to tell you the overwhelming difference in power between them. Also, Loki would be loyal to no flag. The moment he lands, he simply unleashes his Conqueror's Haki and knocks out every fodder pirate and marine. Then, Akainu begins to approach Loki to continue their fight, but Aokiji stops him and points out that Sengoku intends to have a dialogue with Loki, and that they should try to solve this diplomatically. And speaking of dialogue, Whitebeard, who personally knew Loki from back when he visited Elbaf with the Rocks pirates, asks Loki about why he came here. Loki tells Whitebeard not to get the wrong idea. All he wants is to destroy the Marines and the world government. And because the strongest Marines are here on Marineford, it's only natural that he'd be here no matter what. Hearing this, Whitebeard proposes an alliance, kind of like he did with Buggy in the canon. But Loki is not interested. In fact, he even tells Whitebeard to watch out for his attacks. Next, Loki turns around to see who are the strongest Marines. He ranks them. Garp at number 1, Sengoku at number 2, Akainu at number 3, Aokiji at number 4, and Kizaru at number 5, and declares that he'll be hunting them down one by one. When the Marines hear this, the Vice Admirals, including some of the giants, jump Loki, but they get slapped away with a casual Ragnir swing. Loki then starts approaching Garp, who is sitting on the execution platform. But this is where Sengoku enters the chat. Meanwhile, the elders are informed of what's going on. They can't just teleport there since no one is physically present on the scene to draw an abyss circle. Of course, it still won't take them long to just go down below, I mean, Marineford is next to Marijoa on the red line. But then again, it's not their job to protect the Marines. Why should they go? Emu, on the other hand, recognizes that the ancient giant on Marineford has eaten the Nidhogg fruit. But there's no one on Marineford with a Covenant mark he can use as his avatar. And flying down there in his hybrid form doesn't make any sense either. His existence would become public knowledge. To begin with, there's a nerf on Emu leaving Marijoa, so overall, it's unlikely that Emu would choose to go to Marineford. Still, the elders and Emu do have to take some action. So for now, they send Garland Garling, the supreme commander of the Holy Knights, to work with the admirals and neutralize or kill Loki by any means necessary. Coming back to Sengoku. Sengoku asks if they can come to a ceasefire. He even offers Elbaf a seat at the next reverie. Big mistake. Hearing that enrages Loki to the point where he immediately unleashes Ragna Izuchi, a lightning-amped Conqueror's Haki enhanced Ragnier swing. Sengoku manages to block it in time by transforming into the Great Buddha, but it's clear that the negotiations have failed. Now, as Sengoku is blocking the attack, Garp jumps in and punches Loki, which obviously hurts. I mean, it's not like Loki is as strong as Goku. He can be pushed to mid if Garp and Sengoku team up. But Whitebeard decides to help Loki by going against Sengoku one-on-one so Loki can focus on Garp. Basically, thanks to Loki's Conqueror's Haki wave earlier, Whitebeard doesn't have to deal with nearly as much fodder as he did in the canon, which means he has a lot more energy. Plus, he never gets stabbed in the chest by that guy either. Akainu, on the other hand, is handled by Vista. Wait, for real? Nah, just kidding. The Whitebeard pirates jump Akainu to make sure he doesn't interfere with Sengoku versus Whitebeard. Now Loki goes along with the matchups. The fight begins. Loki tanks a few blows, but it quickly becomes clear that old Garp is outmatched. His advanced Conqueror's Haki fist gets overpowered by Loki's Ragna Izuchi. And then, as the world bears witness, Loki freezes Garp solid with his finishing move, Niflheim. It's over. Whatever is frozen by Ragnir can only be unfrozen by Ragnir. Everyone is stunned. Even Luffy, who had already reached the execution platform thanks to all the chaos, and Ace, who is about to be freed, are both shocked. But wait, how does Luffy manage to just save Ace? Where are the admirals? Where is Akainu? Akainu shakes off the Whitebeard pirates and tries to blast the execution platform with his magma. But Ragnir freezes his magma mid-motion, and then Loki locks onto Akainu as his next target. Of course, there's also Aokiji and Kizaru, but after the Whitebeard pirates are shaken off by Akainu, and Akainu himself gets occupied by Loki, the Whitebeard pirates, as well as other factors like Jinbei and Ivankov, shift their attention to stopping Aokiji and Kizaru. Next, Ace and Luffy reach Frozen Garp, and Ace uses his flame to try to unfreeze their grandpa, but it does not work. Aokiji freezes many of the Whitebeard pirates and reaches Frozen Garp as well, but instead of trying to execute Ace, he tries to somehow unfreeze Garp with his Ice Lokia. Unfortunately for him, the ice that froze Garp scales higher than his ice. On the other hand, Akainu is getting destroyed by Loki. I mean, even Cancerbeard with 1 HP was able to beat Akainu. And this is Loki. His Conqueror's Haki, Lightning Charge, Ragnir swings are simply too destructive. Akainu is bleeding all over after barely a minute with Loki. Then, as he questions his justice, Loki holds him up in a pincer grip. Akainu turns himself into magma to try and burn Loki's fingers to make him let go, but Ragnir freezes him faster than the magma can burn. And what happens next is a JoJo reference because Akainu quite literally turns into a rock. What? You see, when magma is frozen, what happens is something called solidification. So basically, instead of getting frozen like Garp, Akainu is cooled by Ragnir to the point where he becomes solid rock. That's it, Akainu is permanently neutralized. Now, around this time is when Sentomaru shows up with the Pacifista, and what do you know? Vigarl and Garling is with him. The Pacifista are all ordered to shoot Loki, but just like how easily Nashjuro neutralized them on Egghead with his ice, Ragnir does the same. In fact, you don't even need Ragnir. Loki's own lightning can short-circuit them all. As for Garling, he's strong, we know that. But is he stronger than Depp's Covenant Herald? Nah, Herald was Emu's strongest soldier, a monster even by Emu's standards. There's no way a bum like Garling, whose feats are only against unarmed civilians and a 0.1 HP rocks, can do anything to Loki. Even if he has a mythical transformation, he's nothing to Loki. Plus, as Loki learns that this man is the leader of the Holy Knights, and Garling's arrogant ass reveals that he is the one who actually killed Rogs, There's no other way to go about it. Loki bypasses Garling's immortality with his Haki and Devil Fruit powers, just like he did with Harold, and kills him. Emu suffers a backlash, just like he did when Harold was killed, and decides to avoid sending more Holy Knights. Meanwhile, Blackbeard, who appears with his crew exactly when Loki kills Garling, starts laughing hysterically. He doesn't know about Loki's connection to rocks, but what he does know is that Loki, an ancient giant with the Nidhogg fruit, is critical to ending the world government. I mean, Blackbeard would know about the same plan to defeat Emu that Rocks mentioned in chapter 1156, right? Ultimately, Loki hears Blackbeard out but refuses to join him, which makes sense. He won't be impressed by Blackbeard like he was with Rocks. Now, while Loki has taken out Garp and Akainu, there's still Sengoku, Aokiji, and Kizaru left. Sengoku decides to call a ceasefire with Whitebeard. He knows Whitebeard can't go on any longer, and Whitebeard knows Sengoku doesn't want to lose any more Marines. Both the pirates and the Marines agree to leave, which does not amuse Loki. He transforms back into his Nidhogg form, which causes everyone to hurry up and get off the island. And then, Loki destroys literally all of Marineford with Thorheim. A few seconds later, it is as though Marineford never existed. And there you have it. That was my take on what if Loki was at Marineford. But what do you think? Where's Shanks in all this?